to the computer, and we're going. Brilliant. All right, so welcome everybody. My name is Sophia. I'm Sophia the Orange, and I am here to show you the class on Zoom for Beginners. It's a beautiful day here on the ethereal realm. And, it is September 12th in the year 2020, and this is University of Atlantia. So we are teaching classes all day, every day, and I actually get a special thing to do with my life. I'm very excited. I get to be the deputy of Atlantia University specifically for online learning. Because I do this in my day job. I train people all over the world through the little box. And I love doing it. I love to connect with people. This makes my extrovert heart just very happy to connect with you and help you out. So I've been doing that for 10 years. And
wow.
I've got a lot of experience with a lot of different platforms. And right now Zoom is the one that everybody's really using a lot and asking a lot of questions about. So we're gonna get started. First of all, I'd love to see in the chat box, how many of you are starting from absolute scratch? You don't really know anything about Zoom, and just clicking the link and getting here today was like your best accomplishment of the week, and you're really happy and want to celebrate that. So if you have that as like your first level experience, that's great. We're going to start there. I just want to know where you guys are starting from, because we can customize this for whatever you need today. Okay, Lucina of Southampton, you're like, I'm starting from scratch, beginning, blank slate. That's super, no problemo. I'm really glad you got here. You clicked the link, opened it up, and said, wow, there's a class there. That's awesome. Okay, so Lucrezia's used it but hasn't initiated a room. Super. Let's see, I've only ever used the Android mobile version. Don't have access to use it on a PC. You know, that's cool. Actually, the mobile versions of these software programs are so good. They are developing them straight for mobile. So it's working really well. Okay, let's see. I have at least 2 to 3 Zoom meetings a week for work. Oh yeah, thank you. Lots of those going on. So you are part of this new wave of experience that we're all having. Absolutely. I have some self-taught. Brilliant. Altani is self-teaching. And Deborah's not a lot. Cool. We're going to start from scratch. And only used it for last university session. That's great. See, we're learning through just figuring out how to stay connected to each other. This is the way it is in 2020. We're learning, we're adapting, and we're finding ways to make it happen. And let's see, Lucinda's doing on the phone. Couldn't it logged into university on my laptop? Okay, not a problem. Phone is great. In fact, I really love being on the mobile version of a lot of these software platforms. Okay, we got another friend coming in. We have another friend. Beatrice is coming in. Welcome, Beatrice. Oh, she's still joining. Still joining, not a problem. Okay, while Beatrice is joining, I'm going to take a sip of coffee. That's still gonna happen all day. Coffee, coffee, coffee. Alrighty, so Beatrice, you have joined us. Be mindful that we are recording. So right now you have the choice of using your microphone and or webcam. And we're recording, and this is gonna go all over the world. All over the world, mostly because there's a lot of Scadians out there that are looking to use Zoom and start from the beginning. And I don't care how smart you are, there's always going to be some kind of little speed bump. There's going to be some little detail that you hadn't thought of before, and we're going to cover a lot of those today. So I would like to invite you all to also see if you can open up another browser, maybe just another tab on your browser, and go ahead and start up your own free Zoom account right now. You really, really can. It's a not too hard process to go through. And I'm going to show you how to kick it off. And then I'm going to walk you through what you can do to bring it to life right now. And then we're going to dig into the first steps of launching a meeting. And then we're going to look at some of the particularly detailed settings that might make a real big difference to you. We have just long lists of settings, and there's often something that comes up where you say, I wish I could do this, and there's actually a setting for it. So we're going to look at those so that you know what the world of the possible is. And what I'm going to encourage you to do is start up one of these free accounts. I actually have 2 extra free accounts plus one that we're in right now that my husband and I pay for. And we have absolutely used all of them. And so they're all useful. Okay, so Deborah's saying, say what with the browsers? If you feel comfortable, you could open up another browser and start up your free Zoom account by going to the website, https://zoom.us, and I'm going to put it in the chat box. So that was me rattling it off quickly, but I'm going to type it in here, https://. That's just the beginning of every web page. Zoom.us. Now be careful, it is zoom.us and not zoom.com. Be careful about that. Okay, Deborah's got a great question. What is a browser? That is a great question. Let's start from the very beginning. Have you heard about Internet Explorer, IE, or Chrome, or even Firefox? Those are all software programs that allow you to browse the web. And so they get a nickname called browser. So we're calling them browsers. And there are there's 4 of them right now that are popular enough that everybody has used one of them. And if you are here right now, chances are good you have one that you've used. It might be the default that came with your computer. So your computer is going to have something like that. The popular ones on regular computers that are not Macintoshes, not an Apple program, the default is probably going to be either IE, which is Internet Explorer, or Edge. That's the next generation of that very same software product. And those are brought to us by Microsoft. So thanks, Bill Gates. And he really, really, really got rich off of us, but he did give us some programs that are very useful. So we're going to just, let him go have his rich life and say, thanks for the stuff. Now, if you're on a Macintosh computer, that is awesome. I love Macintoshes. I don't actually have one myself, but I think they're great. You're going to have another web browser that's probably called Safari. So that's another program name. Now, these are just names like Bob, Jill, Mark, Joe. They're names that they give a software program, but they become really, really famous. So if you see somebody, or if you hear somebody like me just say, oh, try a browser, we're talking about those software programs, and you're gonna have one somewhere on your computer. I guarantee it. And if you get really confused, then there's usually a search box somewhere in the bottom of your, like the bottom set of controls on your computer that will allow you to search, and you can put in there, browse the web, and you will most likely find one of those browsers. So if you feel comfortable doing that, you can open one of them and go to that link that I put into the chat box, https://. That's just the beginning of every website, zoom.us. So you can go there, and what you'll want to do, I'm actually going to start sharing my screen so that we can talk about this and see what's happening all at the same time. So let's see, I'm going to do the magic screen sharing, and where is it? Okay, I hope I'm sharing my second screen. Okay, are you guys seeing Zoom or a big red flower?
Zoom.
Oh, thank goodness. All right. I've got 2 screens, and I thought this was sharing the second screen. Brilliant. Alrighty, so we're looking at Zoom's homepage, and there's so much stuff here, it can get kind of confusing. But if you want to start from the very beginning, go to the big orange button, my super favorite color in the world. Go to the big orange button that says sign up, it's free. So you're gonna open that up and put in the date of birth. This is a thing. They're asking for date of birth. They mostly want to make sure that you are not a kid who is reaching beyond their abilities. So what I suggest is you don't necessarily put in your exact birthday, but put in a date you're going to remember. I usually stick with, January 1 of some particular year that makes me very clearly not a child. So we're going to go back and say, let's say 1980. That was a good year. So the idea is you don't have to put in your birthday with these things. Make sure that you pick a date that you will remember, like your birthday, some momentous occasion, like your first kiss or something, or when you picked up your first car, or something momentous, maybe your first trip out of town, something like that. So pick a date. And then it says here, your work email address. You do not need to put in your work email address, just your email address you're going to use for Zoom. I don't know why it insists that we do this for work, because there's a million other reasons to use Zoom besides work meetings. So go ahead and put in your email here. Now, what's going to happen? I'm not actually going to do this in the moment because I don't have any email addresses left to set up more Zoom accounts. What's going to happen, though, is Zoom is going to send you an email at this email address that says, "Hi, welcome to Zoom. Click on this link." Now, what that does is it proves to Zoom, the company out there in the sky somewhere, it proves to Zoom that you have control over this email address. And it will allow you to stay in contact with Zoom through that email address. It's a process they're calling verification. So you now have a verified account. And what we're gonna do, let's see, where's my chat box? There's my chat box. Okay. What I'd like to do is ask if there's anybody who's actually going through that process of creating your account for the first time, because I can talk about some other things and let you get caught up so that you have your account started. If there's anybody who'd like us to wait like that, I'm perfectly happy to chit chat about some other things before we get there. So if there's anybody who would like us to wait for just a minute while you get your new Zoom account set up, just let me know in the chat box. I'm watching the chat box, and here I can say, see, I'm watching the chat. If I could spell correctly, chat, little heart. Okay, so I'm watching the chat here, and if you need to ask me to wait for a minute, I can do that. Otherwise, I'm gonna get moving and show you some beautiful things that happen right when you set up your account for the first time. So let's see, here we go. Okay, this is what I did is I just switched browsers. So the browser I'm using right now to run the Zoom meeting here is Chrome, but I just opened up another one so that I can operate it separately. This is Edge from Microsoft. It's the next generation of Internet Explorer. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to this little sign in button. Keep in mind the difference between sign up, because you haven't started yet, you're signing up for the first time, versus signing in. Like you're there, you're ready to sign in, you've got your account. So here, I'm gonna put in the email address of my good buddy, Marvin. Marvin is my teaching assistant. And if you guys haven't met Marvin yet, you are gonna have a lovely time with him. He's a great guy. Marvin Sofievich. He is my good buddy at gmail.com. You are welcome to send him email at any time if you wish. He doesn't really check it, but you can, send him some love that way if you wish. And then a password, which I hope I remember correctly. By the way, if you forget your password, what happens is you put in your email address and you hit the little button that says forgot. It's going to send you an email with a link that'll allow you to go to Zoom and reset your password anew. So all you need is your email address. So that's just in case in the future. Okay, we're gonna hit sign in and voila, there we are. Marvin's Zoom account is functioning. So here you can see under the sign in email, There's the email address, so I'm certain this is the right account. I'm in the right place. And of course, if you want to upgrade, they make that really easy to spend money. You can hit the little upgrade button, and that'll allow you to see all the nice versions of the paid accounts, which could be worth your time and money if you wish. I have actually been using Zoom for years. I don't know if anybody of you know, but I have a hobby that's in theater. I love doing theater. And so we have often had rehearsals on Zoom. We have we read through the script and we talk about stuff. And so we've been doing that for years. And now all of a sudden it's the only thing we're doing. Live theater is on hold. But this is where you can go and upgrade if you wish. And, a lot of people are finding it worth it, but definitely shop around and see what you might want to actually spend money on. So let's do one thing that I think is super important. Let's put in a picture. A picture, it just means a lot. So let's see I want to upload the picture. And I know I had the picture ready. Okay, here. We're going to use Marvin with blue eyes. There we go. We had a very, very silly time making Marvin look like one of those guys from Dune. So there we go. And voila, there's Marvin. He is a good friend of mine. Very, very good friend. So now we've got his picture up there. And I highly recommend that you go ahead and put a picture up. It doesn't have to be of your actual beautiful visage. It certainly can be just a little picture that's meaningful to you. But that's going to help to make sure that when you are logging in, you know that this is your account and nothing has gone wrong with it. Now, let me take a break and a little bit of a breath. Oh, I'm looking at the chat and I see Lucinda says it wants me to start my own meeting. That's great. You can actually skip that. That is a kind of a practice moment where Zoom really wants you to get into it and be like, yeah, let's do Zoom meetings. You don't have to do that. There's a little button, I think, that says called skip or something that allows you to skip it and keep moving. And you also do not have to put in anybody else's email address, welcoming your friends into it. This is free software that they're trying to use as a bit of a marketing thing, and that's great. We want them to do their marketing and be a good, healthy business. But for right now, you can skip all of that, and you do not have to start your own meeting. So, alrighty, I'm going to take a breath and see if anybody's having trouble. Anybody has any questions? Because at this point, we have actually gotten over the biggest hurdle. Just getting in and getting your account is just the biggest hurdle, the hardest part. Everything else is fine. Let's see, Lucrezia says, is there a finite amount of people you can free Zoom with? No, there's actually not a limit to the number of people that can get in. However, there is a limit on time. You may have heard this before. Zoom is pretty famous for it in the moment. They have a limit on their free accounts of 40 minutes, 40, or maybe 40. Okay, I'm not sure exactly which order my fingers are in on the screen, but I'll put it in here. 40 minutes, minutes limit. So this is the starting place with your free account. You can have 40 minutes of free Zoom with lots and lots of people, no limit to the number of people. However, if you want to have just 2 people, if you want to call me on Zoom or Marvin and have a chit chat about something, you have unlimited minutes between just 2 people. So you can have a chat for, all day long if you want to, and with just one other person. Or if you add a third person and any more, there's going to be a 40-minute limit. Now, there's also something that it adds to the confusion. There are many different kinds of Zoom accounts out there. And what you're going to find is some people will have different kinds of limits. Some people will have professional accounts. Some people will have accounts paid for by their company. And there will be different deals, different packages, just like any other kind of just like any other kind of software, anything that you buy for the company. So there's going to be differences. On your free account, though, 40 minutes and um, 40 minutes and no real limit to people. If you got to have like over 100 people and then it starts saying, okay, you have a limit at 200 or 500 people, that could come up with a free account. But honestly, I think the limit is just, it's so big, it doesn't actually apply to regular people like us. So the experience you're going to have with most of the stuff you're doing in life is just going to be no limit to the number of people except 40 minutes. And then if you have other people around you say, I had a different experience, that is entirely possible. But that's the basics right there. Now the good news is also you can restart that. So if you have let's say you have a family meeting going on and everybody's like just checking in, chit chat, chit chat, chit chat. And then all of a sudden, your great Aunt Mildred says like, oh, by the way, I wanted to tell you a story about when I met your uncle. And she starts telling the best story ever. And you're like, Mildred, you never told us this story before. And then it shuts off. You hit the 40 minutes and Aunt Mildred has just like started this beautiful story. Everybody can get right back on again. So don't worry too much about that 40-minute limit. You can have everybody just log right back in again. Just start it all up again. And then Aunt Mildred can continue telling the story about how she met her husband and fill you with joy and family warm fuzzies and, continue the story. So it doesn't have to end there at 40 minutes. You can log back in again and just start another session. Now the sessions are all going to be 40 minutes long. So maybe hopefully Aunt Mildred can finish telling her story in 40 minutes. Otherwise you just start over again. Alrighty. So my basic account actually says 40 minutes and a limit of 100 people. That's probably right. I got to tell you, all these details can be looked up on Zoom. So let's actually go look at some of that. I want to make sure you do not have to call me to find solutions to Zoom. I am here to absolutely welcome you into the world of Zoom and make it warm and friendly for you for, this morning, but you will, I guarantee you, come up with questions after today. And while I am perfectly happy to chit chat with you all day long about Zoom, in fact, you can email me. I've got a cool email address from Atlantia. It's online learning at atlantia.sea.org. Yeah. So I've got that email address. You're welcome to email me at any time with questions. However, I'll tell you, there are so many resources for answering your own questions. Chances are good you're going to get an answer faster by looking for it yourself in some of these resources rather than emailing me and waiting for me to get through my mountain of email. But I'm going to show you where it is. If you look in the lower left-hand corner where my cursor is dancing about, there are 3 links. One says attend live training, the other one says video tutorials, and the other one says knowledge base. I'm actually going to suggest you go to the knowledge base. Almost every public software platform has a knowledge base where they have predicted most of your questions. And chances are good you have not come up with a crazy, unusual question nobody's asked before. So I highly recommend getting to know this guy. This is your best friend, and it's right here available 24/7, even when you have insomnia and at 2 a.m. you're like, how do I do that on Zoom? You can get that question answered right here. So under support topics, these are all help articles. So let's say audio video sharing. We'd like to ask some questions about that. These are all your articles on how to do it. Let's say sharing screen. I haven't gotten to that yet. I haven't taught you about that, but you can take a look at this beautiful list of articles and see sharing screen. I would like to know more about how to share my screen. How do I do that? Ooh, look at that. There is a beautiful, there's a video here too. And there's a list of things we gotta accomplish. Okay, prerequisites. And you've got the version for Windows or for Mac. All sorts of good stuff here is going to show you how to do every little thing on the software platform. And it even gives you some extra stuff like here, whiteboard. Oh, I didn't know I had a whiteboard. Let me open up whiteboard. And now it says the whiteboard feature will allow you to share a whiteboard that you and other participants, if allowed, can annotate on. Annotate means write. You can write on it. And so it says you need the desktop client. By the way, I had to learn this one. Client just means software. So a desktop client is the piece of software that you download to your desktop instead of using it just on the web browser online. So I had to learn that, and it took me actually a little while to figure that out on my own. So anyway, this is the knowledge base. Highly recommend you make friends with this. And see, we've got some breadcrumbs up here at the top, breadcrumbs that allow us to go back to that home page for the help center. And we got quick start guides at the top. Video tutorials are great. I kind of prefer reading. Some people like to watch videos. Some people like to just read. I'm a reader myself. Oh, and we got a late comer. Okay, somebody slept in today. Scott has come. Hello, Scott. Welcome, welcome. Alrighty, so there is a great deal of support for you right here in the Zoom Support Center. And also, believe it or not, there are tons of YouTube videos and bloggers and people who have made their own videos and help files on Zoom. I really recommend you stick with the gold standard, stick with Zoom. So go to the knowledge base when you have questions. You're more than welcome to call me. I mean, use my email because I'm always on the phone. But you're more than welcome to email me, but I tell you, you're going to get faster service out of going to this knowledge base and poking around. That's a really, really great place to be. Alrighty, so we did have another person join us. Welcome, Scott. And just so you know, you're being recorded. This is going to go on to be spread all around the world for posterity. And if you have any questions, put them in the chat box. I am watching the chat box. So now we're going to look at scheduling a meeting. This is awesome. It's so easy. You do have two options for running meetings. You have this personal meeting ID up here at the first little section of your landing page. And this means that you could just take this link, share it with your friends and say, guys, let's get on Zoom together. I really miss you. I want to see your beautiful faces. And you just pop that into a text or a message or an email, and voila, they get right in. So for instance, this guy right here, it's got these little buttons to hide or show. It's a security measure. So you can either show them or hide them. I'm showing this one right now. And you can pretty much, because Marvin doesn't actually use this account for very much. So you can take that big, long looking URL. And by the way, a URL is the same as just a web page address. And I'm going to hit the right click on my mouse and copy it. I'm going to hit copy like that. And then I can paste it anywhere I want to. I can paste it into Facebook Messenger or into a chat or an email and send it to the people I want to join in this meeting. Now, if you are looking to teach some classes, I actually recommend not using your personal ID because this is something that will never change, and it's best to not use it publicly. So I'm going to show you how to do something that you're going to post publicly, like for classes, for joining in the University of Atlantia family as a teacher. This is for scheduling meetings. So let's take a look at the next tab down on the left. If you see on the left, I've got a nice big menu of options. Meetings is the second tab down. So here we go. It says the user does not have any upcoming meetings. To schedule a new meeting, click schedule a meeting. Oh, look at that. It's pretty pretty straightforward. So these tabs across the top just kind of allow you to keep track. Under personal room, that's the same thing that we just looked at that's under your profile. Meeting templates, you don't actually get those with the free accounts until you start digging in. You don't need those, not right away. Once you start to get into discovering your artistic side in Zoom, you certainly can try templates, but we're not going to cover those today. Let's take a look at schedule a meeting. It's over on the far right side, so you got to look all the way over here to the far right side for that schedule a meeting button. But once we do that, it will be pretty easy to set up your first meeting. So let's see, my meeting, what are we going to meet about first? I'm going to say, let's say Marvin's going to teach a class in how to be awesome. How to be awesome by Marvin. So this is Marvin's class on how to be awesome, and he's going to put in a little description here. I know how to embrace the joy of life. Come with me. All right, so Marvin's going to say, come enjoy life with me, be awesome, and we will have a good time. So the date and time, pretty clear. Let's set this up for tomorrow and set the time. Let's say we'll get going by like 10 in the morning because Marvin's kind of a morning person. I'm not, but he gets up early. It's weird. So then duration, we're going to say 2 hours of awesome. Sounds pretty good. Now check the time zone. I know we have at least one friend here who's on the Pacific time. So make sure to check this, because what's going to happen is if you have your particular time set here, it's going to say that in the invitation that it's about to generate. So you want to make very clear what time zone you're in. And be careful, because if you work with folks in Europe, they have time zones that sound a little bit like ours. They use time zones that sound like Central and Eastern and Western, but they're European, not US. So just be careful. Be careful that you set your time zone for where you are. Australia has Eastern as well. Exactly. I gotta just reference and look up things all the time. By the way, just a side note here, my favorite time zone webpage to look things up is dateandtime.com, but I gotta actually remember date and time or time and date. Time and no, it's date and time. Dateandtime.com. This is the one that I highly recommend. Come on, little guy, show us dateandtime.com. There we go. There we go, this one. Okay, time and date. Okay, the two D's are in the middle. Okay, so I got to tell you, this is just a total distraction. Side note, time zones are so important. All right, there you go. I put it in the chat. This time zone map I use every day because I work with international clients. So you want to like find out what time is it in Paris, right there. And you see CEST is like Central. Good look. I don't even remember anymore, but I would look it up here. If I didn't remember, I'd look it up here. There's all sorts of great articles here. So make friends with that webpage. It's going to help you out a lot. Okay. That was oh, that's not the right one. That was a distraction, but a fun one and keeps everybody on their toes. So timeanddate.com. Oh, look at that. We learned this when Lokak hosted the Known World Heralds and Scribes. Yeah. I bet you learned that the hard way. Yeah, that happens on the first day. And then everybody says, okay, I got it now. All right. Well, hi to our friends in Lokak. Very happy that they can stay connected with us. So once you figure out your time zone, you can move on. Now there's a little box here for recurring meeting. You could do a weekly meeting. Let's say you're going to set up this meeting for your local SCA group to have their weekly meetings, and maybe you get no business done because no one's throwing events right now, but you can talk about all the stuff you can do online, which by the way, there's a ton. There's so many things that we can do online to stay connected with each other. I really, really hope you check in with people, say hello, talk about your lives, talk amongst yourselves. There's all sorts of things that you can do. You know, staying alone at home is just not necessary. You know, you can connect with people on Zoom and yeah, take breaks, and don't stare at the screen all day, every day. But certainly do stay connected. Anyway, so that's recurring meeting. The meeting ID here says you've got options: generate automatically or use your personal meeting ID. Like I said, I recommend you don't use your personal meeting ID for something that's going to be publicly shared, uh, but allow it to generate automatically your meeting ID. Security. This is something we should pause and talk about for a little bit. You're going to have a passcode here, and you're going to see that once you generate this meeting, you've got a long web address that includes a password, or you can take that out and not use the password and give the password separately to whoever needs it. It is important to manage your passwords because I'm sure, well, you may not have heard about Zoom bombing. What happens with Zoom bombing is there are people with nothing better to do than bother the rest of us. And I don't know why they do this. It's like they got bored reading books or something. I don't know. But they will look around the internet. They'll search for publicly available meeting links of all kinds. It's not just Zoom, it happens everywhere. And when you have the meeting ID and the password together in the same place, it's easy for somebody who's bored and a bad apple to go and find that and then just enter your meeting willy-nilly, and then, you know, do annoying things and interrupt your meeting. And you don't want that. And frankly, it's not the most horrible thing to happen in the world, but it's annoying. So to cut down on that hassle and headache, you know, you're not going to die from it. Nobody's going to like give you a disease through the computer. It's just that it's annoying. So in order to do that, keep your passcode and your meeting ID separate. It's just like a lockbox and a key. You keep them separate if you want them to not be used by external people. You also can customize your password right here. If you just type in here, let's see, we're just gonna say Candy, and Candy 432. That's gonna be our password for this room. So you can customize it. So that's not just, you know, random letters and numbers. So you could even, let's do something and let's call it Spike 2020. Now, this is something I might use for an Atlantean event or a meeting where I want the people to remember it. So if they all of a sudden don't remember where they put the password, they'll remember something that is associated with their life here in Atlantia. And if anybody's not sure, Spike is our pet, our mascot. He's the really adorable seahorse with the unicorn horn, and we use Spike for a lot of stuff. He's a good guy. Alrighty, now a couple of other settings down here that you should be aware of. The video for the host and participants, you can start off with it on or off. Usually I like to actually start it with it on, so that I don't have to bother turning it off, but you might want to start it with it off, and then allow the people who are joining you to turn it on themselves as they get ready. So you can allow them to do it that way, either start with it on or off. Now there's this other one here, enable join before host. Enable join before host is really handy, but only if you're pretty sure you're not going to have random people from the public joining you, if it's for only specific people. So when I do my theater rehearsals, for example, I'll have a bunch of, I'll have like a dozen actors, and I will be fine if they join before I do. If they want to show up early and start talking to each other before I get there, perfectly fine. But for like a big public meeting, I probably don't want to have join before host, because if people are joining before me, then I don't have any opportunity to manage the security and see if there's anybody unknown joining us in the meeting. So I would say use that option only when you are certain you know who's coming and you trust all of them and they're not going to cause issue. There's another one here, mute participants upon entry. That's fine. You can absolutely start everybody on mute so it's nice and quiet and allow them to unmute themselves as they go. Because if you get through the entire year of 2020 and you don't learn how to mute and unmute yourself, then, you know, you're just, I just think it's a good idea. I think it's a really good idea to learn how to mute and unmute yourself during the year of 2020. If you don't do that, let's just say you're a little bit behind the curve. That's okay. It's fine. You know, it's not a judgment on your character. It just means that it's what everybody's doing nowadays. We're learning how to mute and unmute ourselves. This last one's important. Automatically record the meeting on the computer. So you can set this to just start the recording going. I have used this for like my theater rehearsals when I want to just make sure the recording happens so that I don't forget and I capture everything that we're doing in our rehearsal. And that meeting can be good for me to look back to if it's a rehearsal where we have some funny things happening and I want to remember what they are. But you do not have to set this in order to record your meeting. For instance, right now, I am recording this meeting onto my computer, and I'm going to see a file show up on my computer at the end of this meeting. And so I do that manually. This setting here allows it to happen automatically when you first start it. And that's up to you if you want to go ahead and set that. So here's the thing. We've done everything. We've seen all of those settings and we're going to hit save and voila, it's coming up. Woo, there it is. It is now scheduled. We have a meeting. Yay, meeting. And so here is your link right here, your invite link. And here's the important part. You see this big long thing. This is your meeting. It includes the password. So be careful. If this is something you're sharing amongst a limited group of people, go ahead and allow them to have this. This is in fact what your experience was this morning. This is what we're using with Atlantia University because we have in Atlantia University a beautiful system where students sign up for classes and then you will get an email from the system with that very link. It's privately controlled. It's not published on some Facebook group somewhere. So be mindful that if you use this link, you can, but make sure that it's controlled in its sharing so that you're sharing it maybe just on your local group's email list. You could do that. But I wouldn't put it on a public Facebook group. Now, if you need to post something on a Facebook group, you can do that. Here's what you do. You see the little words PWD? That means password. So if I take my cursor and if I go like this and I select only the first half of the link, that you can put out publicly and you tell people what the password is. So this is your link to the room. And you remember I set up the password Spike 2020. So if I wanted to take this link, I could put that all over Facebook and nobody would be able to get in unless they had this this password. Spread the password around in a different venue. Maybe you put that in your group's email list. Okay, when I say different venue, I mean like not in the same Facebook space. Because a person who is one of those bad apples that's really bored trying to get into rooms they're not invited to and cause trouble, they're looking for things automatically all in the same posting. So you could, for instance, take this Spike 2020 and share it the next day on Facebook or the day before. Or you could send it out in the newsletter and say, we're going to use a consistent password all the time in our group. It's Spike 2020 or whatever you want to set it up for. And that way your community knows what your community's password is, but you don't have it associated immediately right there with the link to your Zoom room. And I shouldn't say Zoom room, that's a different program, to your Zoom meeting. So Security is important, and that's a way to do it. But I want to stop there for a second and see if anybody has any questions about how to manage that, how to keep your password separate from your link to your meeting. As long as the two of them are separate, it's like having your lockbox and the key in separate places so that you have the key and you use it only when you need to. Okay, does anybody have questions about that? Feel free to use your microphones. Everybody has microphone rights. Or you put it in the chat box, or you can turn on your webcam and go, hey, help, however you wish to do it. Okay, so it looks like everybody's doing okay. Oh, Deborah says, do participants have to have Zoom account to join a meeting I scheduled and sent out a link? No, they don't. They do not have to have a Zoom account. And that is actually a setting that you can set if you do wish to control it. So let me give you an example. I take yoga classes online, and my yoga teacher has actually set it up so that her students with their Zoom account IDs are automatically let into the room on her Zoom room. But other people are not. So we are required to have a Zoom account, and she knows what our account is, and she puts that account of all of us yoga students on her list of approved people. So that's a setting she set where she decided this is how she's going to manage security. So we can all just bop into the yoga room when we're ready to do the yoga class, but nobody else does. So it's a setting, and I can show you where that is if you need, but generally speaking, the way we have it set right now at the default, no need to have a Zoom account to join it and do a meeting or a class or anything, just like we're doing today. None of you guys were required to log into a Zoom account first and then join this meeting. So, so Deborah, how's that? Is that a good answer to the question? Is that clear? Does that work for you? Give me a thumbs up or a positive word of some kind in the chat, or another question, because we are here to answer those questions. All righty. So, alrighty, let's go down a little bit. Let's take a look at some other things that are here. There are actually a long list of those settings. So those kinds of settings that I was just talking about. Oh, let's see. Thank you. Get to the next class. Oh yeah, we're getting there. We're getting to the 10-minute mark. Okay. Thank you, Altani. Thank you so much. Go and do more classes, you guys, definitely. In this last little bit, what I'm going to show you is where to find other settings. There's a long list of them. If you go over to the left-hand side under meetings, you'll see there's webinars. The webinars are just a different kind of meeting, and they don't come with the free account, so you don't need to worry about that. Recordings is great if you want to record them. And then settings right here. So I want to encourage you to just read through these. There are a lot. You have a waiting room, and this room I set up with a waiting room. You have some password settings that you can choose to say yes or no to. Let's see, hosting video. There were a couple here I wanted to point out for sure. Join before host, you can set that on or off as permanent over here. There's another one for mute the participants upon entry. That is the setting for your whole account. So that's kind of a default that you can set. Let's see, chat, the chat that we've been using, you can save this chat, and you can also prevent the participants from saving it if you need to. You can auto save them if you want. There's also file transfer. You can transfer files through this chat box. So that is something everybody has the option to do, and you can turn that on or off back here. There are a lot of settings back here, so I'm gonna ask you guys to take a look at these. And is there something I want to make sure? Breakout rooms. Breakout rooms is another level that you can get to, and that's another level for a more advanced class. Right here under breakout room, you can turn that on right here with this guy right there. Alrighty, so okay, you guys are running off to class. That's great. So look at that long list, super crazy long list of settings. So for your next mission, should you choose to accept it, please do go ahead and read all those settings and get used to your account. But now you know what to do to set up your very first Zoom meeting. So I'm gonna stop the share and see if we have any questions laying around for the last little end here. Beatrice is saying thank you. Thank you, Beatrice. All right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for being here. I really, really appreciate it. And I'm super glad that you're here. Be sure to go back to your University of Atlantia account and check that you absolutely did take this class, and then you'll get credit on the Atlantia University system. So thank you, everybody. The recording will definitely be available for viewing pleasure later on. So thanks. Have a great day at Atlantia University.